He fell asleep in New Jersey before the bombs hit the ground. Broadcasting from a bomb shelter, he is the nuclear clown. Alright, look. I know I'm a little late on this, but I heard they were serving some good old-fashioned horse meat over in the UK, and I had to take a little dash across the pond to get me some sea biscuits. Look, I know it's not a timely reference or anything like that, but just, give me a break. So yeah, so I'm very late on this, and I'm sure that The Last Stand Part 4 is going to be hitting theaters by the time this shit actually renders. So I'm just going to say, right from the beginning, I'm completely biased in this review, because it's Arnold, man! I mean, look, I don't know what you young whippersnappers have to look up to these days, but when I was a kid, way back when, Arnie was the man, right? I love me some Arnold. And, of course, I went and saw The Last Stand as soon as it came out. And Arnold's been having some rough days lately. His life choices, maybe, have not been the best, which, I mean, I can understand because, and all that. But let's talk about the movie. My spoiler-free review of The Last Stand is as thus. I liked it. I did like it. Did it knock my socks off or really pump my nads? Not in particular, but I thought it was a fine, competently done action movie. And I have nothing bad to say about anything that's competently done that exceeded my expectations. Because let's be honest, I was expecting complete and utter tripe all over the place, and what I got was a movie that I did not mind at all sitting through. Now, it's not without its foibles. I mean, when do you get to use that word? Not a lot, if you're straight. But it has problems, The Last Stand. It's not a perfect movie or anything like that, but nor is it an awful, hideous piece of garbage. I've often said, and I will say it again, I have absolutely no problems, or qualms, or DJ qualls, with any kind of movie that is brief, to the point, does not absorb too much of your time, tells its story, and then goes home to enjoy some sea biscuits. I love that. And that's exactly what I thought this was. So yeah, The Last Stand. It's not going to blow you away. It's not going to reinvent the wheel or anything like that, but it's a good wheel. It's a Firestone, sturdy. Sturdy. So anyway, let's begin to spoil stuff, I guess. The Last Stand did not start off good for me. The very first scene in this movie looks like it was taken at an acting school with two people who have never acted in their lives acting for the first time. When Arnold walks up to that guy in the whole park my car, dude, bro, I'm the sheriff, gritting my teeth because wow, what a jerk off, I bet he's going to get his comeuppance later in the movie, was painful. Painfully bad. And I'm going to say flat out, I'm as biased as you could possibly be towards Arnold, towards Dr. Schwarzenegger and all that. But that was awful. Like, the first acting bits in this, between those two, I mean, really, like, I could have done a better, like, fat guy in a car. Well, not a nice car, I mean, and stuff. Yeah, but it was bad. It was really, it was Trey bad, Trey awful, that part. And I kind of shifted in my seat and went, ooh, we're in for a rough bit here. But I was surprised in that the movie was fine, and it kind of, after that horrible bit of acting, it just kind of went to, average bits of acting. Like I said, it's not going to blow you away or anything like that. But what The Last Stand does very well, I thought, was keep things very simple. The plot is linear, it's straightforward, it's predictable, yes, certainly, but if you're following a template for an action movie and you follow that template well, I don't know, like, I'm not going to give it a standing ovation, but I'm not going to think I wasted my time. I guess in short I could say, I got exactly what I expected, and I guess kind of more. I thought this was going to be dreadful. It was not. I found it quite competent, and I thought the action was pretty good in a lot of parts. But let's go over some of the bad stuff, because God forbid I'd say anything positive for more than like a minute or so. Johnny Knoxville. Look, when you eat worms and you swallow fish hooks and shit, all right, I'm with you. That's fine. Well, it's not fine, but you know, okay, I lulled. You know, I'm not gonna lie to you, but I wanted him to straight up die in this, and not like a hero's death. I wanted like a hostile type death. And here's my problem. You have Johnny Knoxville, who's ultra... He's the comic relief. He's the wacky, zany guy. And look at him. He's got big, funky glasses and a weird hat. And with his ear flaps waxed and what have you. And he's zany and he's kooky and he's running all over the place. And ha-ha, hijinks ensue. And, okay, look. I'm not a big fan of this whole Jar Jar kind of deal, but I understand why it's there. If you're going to do that, why, oh why, Terminator, would you have... I almost said Raul Julia. Luis Guzman. I love me some Luis Guzman. I just love to say Luis Guzman. And he's in this. And great in Boogie Nights. Boogie Nights was an awesome movie, by the way. Love that movie. So anyway, you have Luis Guzman, who's kind of sort of taking a little bit of the comic relief role, and then you have Johnny Knoxville, who is, as I said, Jar Jar Knoxville. And if you're gonna hit me up with one obnoxious comic relief, don't give me 1.5 obnoxious comic reliefs, please. That's all I ask. So anyway, Arnold plays the sheriff of this small town called, let's say, Happyville, because fuck if I remember, right? I watched the movie like 4 months ago. I don't know any. It probably was 4 months ago, actually, now that I think about it. Wasn't it in January that came out? I'm a little behind. Yeah, so... what was that? That's my alarm noise. The Wild Jungle Dave makes... Predators are near. So, Arnie is the sheriff of this small town, right? And it's kind of boring. It's kind of laid back and relaxed. And he was involved in some kind of big event in the big city that he used to work in, which traumatized him for life or some such, and went real bad, and a lot of people died, or many Bothans died, to bring us this flashback that they never flash back to. But long story short, now he's kind of winding down his career in this small kind of lazy town with colorful characters all over the place. And he's got a little rogues gallery of sheriffs who don't know what the fuck they're doing. And look, it's the young kid who says, "Oh, Sheriff, I almost said Sarge. Sheriff, there's nothing going on here. I'd like a little bit of action." Which he may as well have walked up to Arnie and said, "Boy, I think I'm going to die in the next couple of scenes." Because he dies in the next couple of scenes. Again, very predictable, but I don't have a problem with this. One, because I'm incredibly biased towards Arnold, and two, because the movie never claims to be anything that it's really not. And pretty much the stuff I hear people saying when they watch this movie is pretty much what I'm saying. Yeah, it was fine. I sat down and I got an action movie and it was fine. It wasn't terribly offensive. Sure, there was some silly parts, but all in all, I didn't mind it so much. So, so the big deal here, the story thing, the bad fella here, is some escaped FBI guy, some ultra dangerous, like, Batman villain type guy, who stole some kind of experimental car. And he's going to drive this experimental car to Mexico. And the only way he can get there is through Arnold's town, is pretty much the premise of the movie. He evades the feds, steals this high-tech, super fast car, and is off on the Jersey Turnpike, where he goes broke paying tolls and is then raped in a gas station. Welcome to the Garden State. So he's driving his funky, crazy car, and he takes a hostage, one of the FBI people. And Forrest Whitaker plays an FBI guy. Now, I love me some Forrest Whitaker. If you've never seen Ghost Dog, Way of the Samurai, I highly suggest you do so. Forrest Whitaker is great in that movie, and I just love me some Forrest Whitaker. You know, on a side note, and Tricia Vesey, the girl in Ghost Dog, the mob guy's daughter. Yeah. So, thing about Forrest Whitaker, I don't think I've ever, when people talk about the whole kind of grizzled, that expression, that 1,000-yard stare, if you will, they think of the greats, right? They think of like your Clint Eastwoods, your Jack Palances, your J.D. Roths from Funhouse. I think of Forrest Whitaker. If anybody in the world I've ever seen has a look on his face like, man, life did a number on my ass, and I don't give any kind of fuck, it's Forrest Whitaker. The man, if I was in charge of a movie about the Greek gods, I would pick Forrest Whitaker as Hades, because he looks run down, but in that cool way, like, don't mess with that guy, because he has the look like life did a Killer Instinct Ultra combo on his face, and he's still here. So I love me Forrest Whitaker, and I think he's fine in this. So you have Forrest Whitaker, who's running this big FBI thing, and he gives Arnie a heads up and says, yo, this guy is going to be driving through your town to go to Mexico, and you may want to keep an eye out, but just stay out of our way. We'll handle it. We're just giving you a courtesy flush. I don't know what that has to do with what I'm saying. I just felt like, I don't know, I just wanted to use that term real quickly, just very quickly, if you'll indulge me. So Arnie says, no, man, piss on that. I'm not letting this happen. So the FBI they block off the one kind of way they're pretty sure the guy in the experimental Mach 5 is going to take to get to Mexico, right? So they have their police roadblocks, and they're following him, and they're chasing him. And this sort of reminded me of John Dillinger, I think. I'm not an educated person. I think I had just got done eating like 3 pizzas or something, and the television just happened to be on the History Channel. So I was absorbing information, even though I wasn't trying. I promise you I wasn't trying. But it was some special on John Dillinger, I think. And part of the reason why he was such a good criminal, I guess, or so successful in robbing these banks, is because he would buy the top-of-the-line cars of the time that simply drove faster than anyone else. So when he would rob the bank and escape, he'd be in a car that literally the authorities could not keep up with. So, that's got to help. And that kind of reminded me of this, because at first it's kind of silly, like, they can't catch him. They have helicopters, and he's there, and then, well, he had a hostage, so I guess, whatever. But I was thinking, because he's driving, I forget where this whole thing started. I want to say they were close in Nevada, somewhere, I want to say. But again, it's been 3.5 years since I saw the movie, so, cut me a break. But, so he's driving really, really far to try to evade the authorities and go south of the border and all that. So he's in his Mach 5, and he's driving super fast. And as we all know, if you drive, the faster you drive, the more gas you burn, right? Isn't he going to have to fill up at least once? I don't know anything about geography or hygiene or anything like that, but he's going 100 whatever miles an hour, and he never stops for gas or anything. I thought that was a little weird. I don't know, maybe you can. I broke something real quick. Oh, I had to fix it. But yeah, maybe you can. I don't know anything about cars or anything like that. I just figured it was a little weird. I can't go to the goddamn... I can't go get 5 Fudgy the Whale Carvel ice cream cakes without having to spend $45 to fill up my piece of shit with no air conditioning. That's in the closet? I'm pointing at it like it's in there. It is. It's in parts. It's in parts there. In briefcases, far and wide. So that's the setup of the story. Forrest Whitaker is telling small-town Sheriff Arnie, he's warning him, saying, stay out of my way, but Arnold. Arnold's not going to back away from this. This is his goddamn rodeo, and if you want to ride in it, you got to wear the rodeo clown paint, or whatever, an insert rodeo analogy that I don't know about, that I don't know about right there. So, what the kind of twist to this is, the FBI thinks, all right, he's going to take this route because that's the only way you can get to Mexico from, in the way he's going. But Arnold and his ragtag band of deputies and whatnot find out that they're actually building a bridge across this canyon, and he's going to take that way. And I don't know what the military term is, but I remember they had a G.I. Joe, which is probably the most boring G.I. Joe in the history of boring G.I. Joes. They had that vehicle. That's how I remembered it. Normally I would have said, what? A man-made bridge? Who could believe such a thing? But I remember when I was a kid, they had a G.I. Joe vehicle that it was like a thing with a giant, it was like a bridge, and it would just like extend the bridge. And the guy's name was like, I don't know, Bridgetor or something or whatever. And it was the most boring thing. I don't think I ever had this toy because, you know, I'm poor. But I think I knew somebody who had it, and I was like, how much money do your parents have laying around, man, that they got you the G.I. Joe, the bridge thing? That it extends a bridge. Like, it's like in Big, the robot that turns into a building, or the building that turns, you know, like how exciting. Anyway, so I saw that, and I said, hey, Bridgetor got some side work. That's pretty cool. So I thought that was actually a nice little thing, because the feds are like, oh, we got this, man. He's going to have to go through here. We're going to stop him. It's all good. Just a minor inconvenience. But no, he's got his goons or whatever, and they're kind of linking these two canyons together via this big like military bridge thing, and that's how he's gonna escape. So I thought that was a nice little plot twist. I thought it was fairly believable within the confines of an action movie. I mean, sure, you gotta have a lot of influence to pull one of those jobbers off. But hey, you know, I mean, he's a big cartel drug lord guy, so I don't know, I guess I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Now, during this time, there's kind of some side plots going on. One of the, Arnold's, like, young female deputy or whatever is kind of sort of involved, or was involved with this one guy who's locked up. He was a Marine or something like that and got drunk, so he's locked up there during this whole thing. And they kind of locked down the town, this quiet little town, because, you know, people are going to start blowing up pretty soon. So, they need all the people they can get, Arnold and his band of misfits. So they kind of recruit the guy, and him and the girl kind of have a little love thing, which, all right, you know, that's fine. At first, I was sort of like, why do they need this guy? But then, you know, they kind of need all the help they can get. So they recruit obnoxious ass Johnny Knoxville, who tries to make us laugh and fails. And then, you know, stuff just kind of happens, and then the Death Star blows up. I don't know. Luis Guzman leaves. He's like, screw this, I'm Luis Guzman. Shit. I was going to say that he was in Blade, but he wasn't in... Why was I thinking that Luis Guzman was in Blade? The other guy was. Donald Logue. I liked him in Blade, Donald Logue, but Luis Guzman, not in Blade, to my knowledge. But they should reboot Blade and have Luis Guzman be Blade. Luis Guzblade. You think about that. You think about that, Hollywood. I know you're watching. And while I'm on the off topic of Blade, how funny was that when... I liked Blade, the first one. I thought the second and third ones were... I like to forget those. But the first one I thought was quite good. And when the old guy is like, give me the gun, Blade. Give me the gun. Give me the gun, Blade. That gun right there you have... Give it to me. And he takes the gun, and Blade walks away, and there's a big dramatic pause, and then you hear the gunshot, but then, like, he lives. In the next movie, he comes back. So, like, what? You missed? You missed killing you. It was like, Blade, give me the gun, now walk away, you stupid son of a bitch. Oh, my Blade, come back, my ear. I blew my ear off, Blade, come back. I don't know. I just don't know. So anyway, the bad guy takes off on his car, and he has a hostage, and there's a little side plot where the hostage is FBI, but she's been paid off, and this, that, and the other thing, so he ends up killing her along the way. Now, there was one part in particular that was quite silly. When he's driving in the car, and he's being chased by the authorities, and he starts doing, like, car kung fu or something, and he like... whips the car around, and then the cars chasing him like fly up over him and blow up, and it was so stupid, so completely stupid, and way over the top. And if I'm saying something's way over the top in an Arnold Schwarzenegger film, bank on it, pretty over the top. So anyway, he's going along the way. Arnold and his band of misfits try to stop him. The kid dies who wants action. He gets action in his guts and then goes to the action grave via the action elevator. And that kind of inspires, his men to not stay out of the way of the feds and to try to do this on their own. And it's fine. It's all well and good. I want to talk about one thing that particularly stood out with this movie that I really, really quite liked. This whole time, we're all painfully aware that Arnold Schwarzenegger he's not only not a spring chicken, he's not even a fall goose, I guess. He's old, right? We understand this. So I don't think they put him really in any parts in this film where it's silly or unbelievable. And it reminded me of The Expendables, the first one, which is a part I never hear anybody talk about, but that stuck out in my head. At the end, when Sylvester Stallone has the bomb or something, and he's going to throw the bomb at someone and then shoot the bomb and blow up Palestine or whatever, I don't know. But he's trying and he can't do it. So he gives the bomb to like his ripped up younger friend and is like, fucking with the bomb here. And then the big, the strong ripped up guy throws the bomb and then Sylvester Stallone, he rides it or something. I don't know. But I like that little moments like that where it's like, okay, they're acknowledging like, yeah, we're not young anymore. We get it. We understand. So if you could poke little jabs at yourself like that, I do like that. And I think in The Last Stand, they do that well, where it's kind of like everybody gets it. It's like, all right, yeah, Arnold, he's old. All right. He's not doing, he's not choke slamming minivans or anything like that. And nothing was too over the top as far as this kind of stuff he was doing. So I really like that they're not going over the top with the stuff that Arnold is doing, because he's not quite the action hero that he once was. And I don't really have a problem with that too much, as long as they kind of address it. And I thought that they did. Also, I really, really super liked that they did not try to shoehorn a love interest in this. There was kind of a romance story in here with his young deputy girl and another young guy. And they hooked up. It wasn't Arnold and the young deputy girl. Arnold's 97 years old and has a thing for old lady maids. And guys, who among us hasn't, had sex with their maids? They're vastly, not all that hot. Maids. Me neither. And that's one of the things I really don't like in movies, where they kind of have to have the obligatory love interest. You don't always have to. And I like that that Arnold was going it solo this time around. I thought that was really, really quite good. And, I mean, it would have been just unnecessary all of a sudden to have a side plot where he's, like, dating a librarian or something. It just wouldn't have made much sense. So anywho, they had their big fight at the end. And I gotta say, I really did like the big boss fight at the end, because the bad guy kind of makes it to the bridge, and in a big dramatic upswell of music, he's finally, exhausted and bloodied. And he's going to hoof it across the bridge, and standing on the other side between him and the freedom of Mexico is Arnold. And they start going at it. Now, I gotta say, I love this fight scene. And it was a little bit silly in that the bad guy starts doing, like, Damian Maya jiu-jitsu and shit. And it's a very UFC type of fight. And if it was anybody but Arnold, I probably would have thought it was a little bit much. But I thought it was cool in that, again, maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but it seemed like a very vast contrast in old and new. You have Arnold, who's just slamming the guy around, and he has, the guy has him in like a goo-goo-plex arm thing, or whatever the fuck it is you guys do. And Arnold's just picking him up and slamming him on the ground, and the guy's doing all these kind of like funky reversals and joint holds and and stuff like that. And to me, it was very much Arnold with the old school and bad guy with the new school. So again, to me, and I very well may be reading too much into this, because I don't read into anything else much, like, you know, life skills or anything like that. But Arnold movies, I have diaries filled with pie charts of... That's sign language for pie charts. So, I did like that. I thought that was a nice kind of undertone thing, I guess, for this film, old versus new type sort of deal. And I thought it was well done. I thought it was good. All in all, I did like this movie. I did not have a problem with this. I had a problem with Johnny Knoxville. Big problems with Johnny Knoxville. Very obnoxious, very tedious, very annoying. And true, you could say, well, Dave, he wasn't in it. He wasn't in the movie that much, and you'd be right. But it was enough. 'Twas enough, I think. But all in all, I gotta say, The Last Stand was pretty good. And is it? Am I saying The Last Day sometimes? I may have. I'm gonna be doing a review of The Next Day, a David Bowie CD. So I'm probably mixing them up and saying The Next Stand or The Last Day. I may be doing it. And then I get it confused with The Sixth Day, Arnold's other. So I get to, you know, David Bowie, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Very easy to kind of confuse the two. Obviously. I don't, it goes without saying, I guess. But I did enjoy this movie. I thought it was quite good. I was happy. I mean, I know it didn't do very well. I'm sure it didn't make much money. But I was happy that I got to see a new Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, and I did not leave disappointed at all. As a matter of fact, I left, you know, kind of happy. Like that I could say, yeah, Arnold's movie, it wasn't that bad. And the majority of the people I talked to who have seen it, which is one, I think, say the same thing. They were like, yeah, I enjoyed that as well. So I'm happy for you, Arnie. I'm happy, right? We're back. The two of us. We are, and isn't that something? But before I go, I want to talk about another really, really neat thing about this movie, and that was the action scenes in it. Not particularly the action scenes, though there is some really cool shit. For example, Arnold... I can't explain how awesome this is. Arnold tackles some guy off of a building, right? Not like a skyscraper, but, you know, like off the top of like a business in a small town or something. So he tackles a guy off the roof, and on the way down, like, all right, he tackles him off the roof. Obviously, the guy's at least going to be incapacitated, knocked out, probably maybe dead even from the fall. Excuse me. There's like a ham bone stuck in my throat or something. But that's how exciting this was. It's exciting. So he's falling on the way down with him, and, you know, it would have killed him, obviously, or it would have at least taken him out of the fight for a while with, you know, Arnold's 300-pound girth just squishing him, right? But that's not good enough for Arnold. He tackles the guy off the roof and then shoots him in the head on the way down. A mid-air fatality. Like, he's going to kill the guy. Probably. 65% chance. The fall alone is going to kill him, but no. No, Arnold goes for 100% or nothing and shoots the guy in the head as he's falling with him on the way down. Loved it. I absolutely loved it. But besides that, I want to talk about something that I don't really notice in a lot of action movies that I noticed here. In your average action movie, when you have gunfights in particular, and the bullets are ricocheting off walls, and people are behind cover, and there's machine guns going off, and, you know, boom, boom, boom. I mean, boom. Because bullets make those sounds. Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Die. Boom, boom, boom. Bing, bing, bing. 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 Is what violence sounds like. But, you know, you have the whole ricochet sounds and stuff like that, and that's fine. You just kind of come to expect it. Some smoke maybe comes from the wall or something that got hit. But in this, it really stood out to me how to put this. The gunfights in this movie seemed really super dangerous for one reason. When a bullet would hit a wall or something, a huge chunk of the wall would just explode and there'd be dust and shit everywhere. And it wasn't a simple like ricochet sound. Somebody hides behind cover, somebody shoots the cover, and just chunks of rocks just shoot everywhere. And the actual bullets, even the ones, the ones that didn't hit, seemed like they had so much more impact than in movies. And it's weird that that kind of stood out to me. Maybe I don't know why. I guess it was intentional because it was so obvious to me anyway. And I'm very imperceptive. I'm incredibly imperceptive. And it just seemed like the violence and the guns and the gunplay and whatnot was really it just seemed dangerous, because when the bullets would hit inanimate objects, they would just explode and shatter, and it was awesome. It was like they were using fucking Warhammer bolters or something. It just seemed really cool, and it added, I thought it added something to the action scenes quite a bit. So yeah, so hey, The Last Stand, right? It's got a generic name. It's got kind of a straightforward, generic feel to it, but if it's good, and if it's strongly done, there's nothing wrong with generic. There's nothing wrong with a little Mr. Pibb every now and again, right? So that's Arnold Schwarzenegger and David Bowie starring in the action-packed drama of Twins 2. I gotta say, I love the action. I love the sex scenes. Very erotic. The Last Stand, hey, it was fine. It was good shit. I mean, I had fun. I enjoyed it. I don't mind a competent action movie. And if you don't, and if you're an Arnold fan, I bet you'll like it. I mean, what more can you really ask for, except for timely YouTube videos? Sorry.